Hello and welcome to my cultural presentation on the lives and murderous tale, true tale, on William Burke and William Hare. Now, to get started, Burke and Hare were both Irish men who moved to Scotland, Edinburgh, in 1827. They met at a harvest where Burke was working and immediately became close friends. Now, Hare owned a lodging called Tanner's Close, which is actually up and running today. You can go visit it in Edinburgh, Scotland today. And upon realizing this, Burke pretty much was like, hey, could I come and work with you and work for you? Since they were already such close friends, Hare didn't see any problem with it. Bing, bop, boom, Burke and Hare now are together working for the lodging house that Hare owns with their wives. Now, this is Edinburgh, Scotland, to your left, at the time of Burke and Hare. And to your right is Edinburgh Medical School, which plays a huge role in the story of Burke and Hare. Edinburgh Medical School was faced with a huge problem. They were mainly known for the dissection of human bodies and were a really prestigious school. But Victorians were really weird about their lives after death, especially with handling of their bodies. There is a belief going around that when Jesus comes back, you must have a proper burial to be properly resurrected. And if you gave your body over to be dissected, you either wouldn't resurrect at all, if it was that bad of a dissection, or you would resurrect pretty much as a ripped up ugly zombie because of all the wounds and openings you would have on your body. With this idea, no one was giving themselves over as cadavers. And this gave a huge problem for Edinburgh Medical School, being known for anatomy and not being able to have the supplies to pretty much cut open and dissect human beings. With this problem, it started to create a huge trend. With the high demand of human bodies for cadavers, people who were called resurrection men and grave robbers started digging up graves and selling dead bodies for top dollar to become cadavers. Now, at the same time of Hare and Burke managing the lodging, they had an older gentleman pass away inside of the lodging, and he still owed Hare some rent, about £4 of rent. Hare was infuriated about this. The dude's dead, Hare's not going to get all of his money, and he pretty much is dead inside of the lodging house. So once he gets buried, this was actually the only body Burke and Hare resurrected. They go and pretty much grave rob him. As you can see in this picture on the left, a depiction of what exactly happened. So because this older gentleman owed them £4, Hare has the idea to take his body, grave rob him, and sell him to a man by the name of Dr. Robert Knox, who you can see to your right. Now, they dig his body up, go sell it to the Edinburgh Medical School. Dr. Knox pays them £10, like a little over double the rent that man owes them. Now, Burke and Hare realize something, like, hold up, this could make some good money. Along with owning a lodging house and being able to supply these bodies to Dr. Knox, they could be rolling in some serious dough. And right here you can see this would be Dr. Knox's, pretty much his classroom. To your right, they would lay those dead bodies, those cadavers, on that white sheet, dissect them, and all the students would stand up in those railings watching. So like I said, Burke and Hare realized, man, this could make some good money. But they weren't patient enough just to wait around for people to just start dropping like flies in their lodging house. So they come up with a plan to pretty much prey on outcasts who would decide to come pay rent and stay at the lodging house. They would prey on people who society kind of neglected, who really no one cared about, or who were completely unseen and unheard of. With this, they had a whole scheme. They would lure them in, get them a little tipsy, offering several drinks and liquor and booze. And by the time they get super drunk, Hare would hop onto their torso while Burke covered their mouth and nose, suffocating them. This became known a verb in the dictionary called burking. And they started selling these bodies. I really like this depiction of this picture to the left because as you can see, at the doorway are the wives looking out for him. And I kind of assume that this definitely happened, though it wasn't proven. They had to be in on this. They start getting bodies. I'm talking 15. Before they start getting a little sloppy. And here is where they get a little sloppy. After their 14th body sold for 10 pounds, making good money, Hare's wife sees a man, and he's the image to your left, called Daft Jamie. And Daft Jamie was pretty much a special needs 18-year-old man. He was mentally disabled, he walked around with no top hat and never wore shoes. And the community kind of really accepted him. Everyone knew who Daft Jamie was. He actually had a sliver of genius in him where he would know the days of the week without ever looking at a calendar. And people would ask him those questions like the days of the week or ask him to solve mathematical equations, and he would actually know them. And with that, they would pay him with food or money. And he was pretty much accepted in the community. Everyone knew Daft Jamie. Now, William Hare's wife, seeing Daft Jamie, thought he was the perfect victim for a Burking. So what happens? Burke lures him in, gets him tipsy, but what happens is the liquor doesn't affect Daft Jamie like it usually would on a regular gentleman. He starts drinking, and Burke is like, alright, it's time. Hare comes in, they get on top of the body, and he starts fighting. The only one who fought. Well, this gets a little messy. Burke finally makes it to where he's holding the nose down and mouth down, suffocating him, and he actually admitted in his confession of how this was actually the one that really tormented his soul after killing Daft Jamie. So they burked him, took him to Dr. Knox. Dr. Knox cannot deny this is Daft Jamie. Everyone knew him in Edinburgh, Scotland. So what does he do? He chops off Daft Jamie's head and his feet so that no one will notice when he takes him out to the anatomy class. Close one is what Burke and Hare thought. Now going after their 16th victim to your right is Miss, this is hard to pronounce, but Docherty, a Scottish name. She is a Scottish old lady who decided to come and stay at the lodging with a family called the Greys. Now, obviously, she seems super helpless, older lady, no one really cares about her, let's Burke her. So Burke lures her in, gets her a little tipsy, tells the Grace family to go move in on another side of the lodging. They abide and go in and move in on the other side of the lodging. Hare slips in, they get on top of the body and suffocate her, and they decide to leave her body at the foot of the bed with a bunch of straw on top of her, hay and straw to cover up the body. Now, they need to wait for it to become dark enough to where they can take her body and go sell it to Dr. Knox. But what happens is the Grace family returns to take back some scarf and clothing that they left in the room. They come up, see this woman with straw piled onto her, murdered, and immediately go to the police. And what follows is a huge trial. Burke, along with his wife, are immediately arrested, as you can see to your left. William Hare and his wife actually escape. Now, the police don't really come after him just yet because they pin Burke and think he's the guy. But after talking to Dr. Knox, they figure out that Hare was a part of this crime also, so they go ahead and arrest him too. Now, they discovered something. Burke was more of the bronze of this scheme, and Hare proved to be more of the brains. So they devise a plan to do something that is called King's Evidence. It's pretty much where you rat out the other guy, put all the blame on him, while also confessing that this actually occurred, because this proved to be a perfect crime. Even if he didn't give this evidence, there was no true evidence that these people were murdered because of the way they were killed. So Hare does exactly what I just said, using King's evidence, and Burke is hung. His wife is released because they couldn't find out whether or not if the wives were in on this. And Hare walks away a free man. What happens to Burke? Well, he is hung in front of 25,000 people. Everyone showed up to see Burke hung. It was a huge phenomenon. Everyone was like, oh man, we got to be there. You can see people in the image on the left actually standing on top of the church house watching him get hung. And what happens next is what pretty much is a fulfillment of the way the Lord's made this world. You reap what you sow. Burke becomes a cadaver, and his skeleton sits today inside of Edinburgh Medical School's museum. His skin is made into a skin book, and he also has a death mask. Now at this point you're probably wondering, well, what the heck happened to William and Dr. Knox? Well, William Hare, actually, that's his life mask to the left, and I pretty much depict him thinking of how smooth he got out of his crimes. Now there's a lot of theories surrounding what happened to Hare. The most popular is that he moved to London and became a blind beggar inside of London. What happened to Dr. Knox? Well, he was pretty much quietly dismissed from Edinburgh Medical School. He moved to London and became a doctor there. And now here's my works cited page. Let me move my face. As you can see, I use Britannica.com, Wandering Crystal, and History UK. Each provided excellent information for me to create this presentation. Thank you for watching. Love you, Miss Vance.